Hello, Namaskar, and Jai Hind, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about the whole framework around how China and America, that are into this World War III, Cold War scenario situation right now, have come to this point. We all know what is happening in South China Sea. We all know how China is behaving recklessly, like a hegemon, like the Soviet Union of the old time. And it's a typical communist behavior. And a lot of great thinkers have been saying about it for the last 30, 40 years. Right after when America opened up China, a Chinese political relationship, then commercial relationship, people in America were apprehensive that China's rise. So there were two schools of thoughts. One, that as China gains economic prosperity, the democratic forces will overthrow the communism and we'll have a happy world. And the second school of thought was that no, China is an old civilization, they'll adapt, the communism is not going to get overthrown, and we will have a monster on our hand. So lo and behold, the second forecast is coming true, and we are seeing a hegemonic Chinese monster breathing on everybody's neck in Far East, Southeast Asia, but more broadly across Pacific to China on one side and America on the other side. So the framework that came to mind, how China and America, how did Americans make such a nasty calculation and go so horribly wrong? The primary reason, two words that come to mind, is capitalism, and the second word is greed. So these are American strength as well, because capitalism and greed is what fuels the whole American democracy, the whole questions and concerns and rights around individual freedom, openness of society, rule of law, the constitution, the whole shebang what America is known for, one of the oldest democracy and whatnot. But the foundation is two things: the religion, which is Christianity, and the second part is capitalism and tremendous amount of greed to create this personal wealth, because America believes if you allow individuals to make choices and decisions, they would like to become wealthy, and as they become wealthy, the nation becomes wealthy in a certain rule of law. Now, it's not a perfect framework. There are a lot of holes which you are seeing in Black Lives Movement, और इस सब में जो आप देख रहे हैं, जो गपशप चल रही है यहाँ की सोसाइटी में. लेकिन overall, in a larger framework, this construct has worked well for last 300 years. So this whole American experiment, that sits on one end. So if you have a normal curve in mind, this is the right tail of the normal curve, which is America of today, and all its paraphernalia from Hollywood to, the capitalism, the greed, the Wall Street, the Silicon Valley, and so on and so forth. On the other end is the left tail of the normal curve. You can put China and the whole Chinese governance model, single party, communist, ruthless, top down, no individual rights, liberties. But Chinese have tweaked it a little bit and created a sort of capitalistic, highly, corrupt, power centered, the wealth centered, and everybody else is a modest living. But in this society, the two buzzwords are insecure, especially for Chinese, insecure and paranoia, which happens in any centralized, single man, single party ruled countries. So it used to be true with kings, and now it's Xi Jinping who is ruling this. Same true can be said of the Chinese Communist Party, because I'm sure the power rests with the 5-6 who are sitting at the top, and out of which Xi is now the lifelong emperor that has been designated there. So with China on one side of the normal curve, America on one side of the normal curve, and they both have a lot of strengths that we have seen, and they both have tons of weaknesses. And what in this situation is becoming handicap for each one of them is their strengths. So the whole muscular response to everything that China looks up to, for them everything is an enemy. Wuhan virus is an enemy, and they mobilize the entire country and the entire Communist Party and all the paraphernalia of communism around fighting enemies. So they constantly have to construct enemy theory, constantly have to stay mobilized, and it's the paranoia and insecurity to protect the single party communist rule. It is their strength, but it's their biggest weakness at this moment in time, because the way they have reacted right after they started to get blamed by the rest of the world about how they exported Wuhan virus, they immediately went on the offensive and they opened the fronts from, Vietnam, Taiwan, South China Sea, East China Sea, Japan. They are putting a foot to everybody, they're breathing on everybody's neck. So, and with China, the physical confrontation and the deaths have really sort of flared the whole thing up. और अमेरिका के केस में जो उसकी मेन स्ट्रेंथ है, the whole capitalist individual greed, creation of wealth, freedom from press to individual, that has become its bane and sort of. And why I'm saying this, that everybody knew, at least for the last 20 years, that China is going to be the biggest nemesis, the biggest sort of enemy. But we let it sort of happen all along because the capitalists and the Wall Street investors were running the show. And they always run the show in this country. And for them, making money is more important than national security or how the American experiment is going to be. Let it continue for the next 200 years and 300 years. If you can, pull back on your greed a little bit and start to diversify the whole supply chain and the overinvestment in China. But they didn't let that happen. So the greed and capitalism has created this Chinese monster that's now breathing on everybody's neck and is really looking eyeball to eyeball with confronting America as well. So you are seeing that a little bit of panic is starting to set in America, at least at the policy think tank and at the top level. Now this is an election year, so there is going to be tremendous amount of turmoil, but even Democratic Party will not be able to get away by not designating China as the enemy. So both the parties are going to go after China. But how did America come this far was because of its strength, which was capitalism and greed. How did China come this far? I mean, China, if it was a democratic society and they had a good economic and political partnership with America, they should have continued this partnership rather than trying to overthrow, trying to be paranoid, trying to be doing the right thing of the past, living in the Confucius la-la land and trying to take the revenge of what happened in the 1800s and 1700s to China. So that whole paranoia, insecurity of communist nation which is their strength when they can reuse it for the right things, but becomes their biggest nemesis when they just overreact, which they did right now. And for America, the capitalism and greed that got America this far and has created one of the wealthiest country ever in the history of humanity has become its sort of nemesis by creating this monster. So I wanted to share this framework with you. And this framework even applies to India, if you think about it. India was a great seafaring, a very balanced power from Kandahar in Afghanistan all the way up to Burma, and have, traces of Indian civilization you can find all the way up to Korea and Cambodia and Vietnam and whatnot, and then all the way up to Africa and everything here. But after Buddhism, India became too much of a peace-loving, peacenik, ahimsa paramo dharam, and they just stopped fighting the war and they just became too much of a trading nation, and the whole Kshatriya dharma of war and fighting and protecting your land sort of took a back seat after the Battle of Kalinga that Ashoka promoted Buddhism so much. And what that led to is the weakening of Indian culture and civilization in terms of protecting itself, and it got opened up for various invasions from the northwest. And then Mughals and the whole Muslims from Central Asia ruled India for 600 years. And then Britishers came, they ruled for another 250 years. And India became a very sort of a weak nation. So any strength of yours, which you take it too far to one extreme or the other, will eventually end up becoming your weaknesses. And it's true for individuals, it's true for nation states, it's true for societies. So, and now that Modi has come in and he's trying to rebalance that over-pacifist attitude towards a little bit more muscular India, if you will. And I think that's the right thing to do. Don't let any extreme sort of get hold of. But the Indian society has to become a little bit more muscular, a little bit more aggressive. And I have said in my previous videos, India needs to shy away from this defensive mindset. And India needs to become a little bit more greedy. Creation of wealth is a good thing. India needs to become more offensive. Overly defensive mindset is a weakness, and it's a bad thing. So overall, wanted to share this framework that most of the time what you perceive as your strength can become your weakness as well, and you should be always try to balance one with the other, defense and offense, outward versus inward. Name any two dual poles and you have to find the central path through it and not let your national character tilt in one direction or the other. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful life.